can sell, that can engage with people, that can resonate with people. How many agenda would they have anyway?
Do you think people are not interested in their problems?
They are interested in their problems.
So why are we always telling them about politicians' problems?
But
we are part of the problem.
Who voices those problems? The politicians always voice them. Where did Eurobond money go? Isn't that an issue? Is that not a problem? Where did we take NYS money? And those issues that are being addressed. The problem with our parties is that there is very limited room for dissent. But as much as I said earlier, I think the Article 14, Section 5, on which deals with defection from a party, if you join another party, then you are deemed to have quit the party that nominated you or sponsored you to parliament. What then happens is that you should be given a notice to show cause why you
should not be deregistered.
Yes, deregistered, or you should quit the party. But what happens is that they've also very limited room for fair hearing, which is stipulated very well by the Constitution. Do these people have fair hearing? Have we listened to these guys who want to defect? Have they given reasons why they want to defect? If you speak, for example, to Honorable Rege, whose home is now under guard by a policeman, I mean, he should have his freedom to go to whatever party he wants to. But he should be given a chance to explain why he's dissenting from the party policies. If a party has organized protests through endorsed by the National Executive Committee or Council, and you're a member and you feel you should not join those protests, then you should also voice your concern and convince people, I did not join the protest for following reasons. But that is no reason also to just make you or label you as a rebel, as a person who does not want to follow party rules.
I guess that's the opportunity for the media to bring out the issues that way, that we are saying the law stipulates this and that, and this is the procedure. For example, if you want to by-election, so the issue is not that ODM wants by-elections, it's that ODM wants to discipline its errant members. So whatever that discipline means, if at the end it means that we have found you to have committed a wrong in accordance to our party rules, then we expel you, then therefore we tell the Electoral Commission and the other relevant bodies that you're no longer supported or sponsored by our party. But that's, this is actually just being political. This is political.
Going back to what the politicians are saying, and we're going back to what Raila is saying, what ODM is saying, isn't it our responsibility to look at, fine, they have decamped. They have changed the office. I mean, they've changed the vehicle that they were using. What does the law say?
That's my point. And actually, it shouldn't even be up to ODM to punish these people. Where the Political Parties Act is clear. If you declare support for a party, you are assumed to have moved. So what we need to be doing is asking people like the Speaker. You need to be asking, the people we pay, how come you have not declared these seats to be vacant? They don't need to wait for ODM to inform them.
No. Precisely, and that's why, should this headline be Raila whipsawed members of parliament
or Speaker absconds his duty? That's what we should be saying. That's what we'll be talking about.
Gadhara, there's clear procedure, and as what Hito has said, first, there has to be a complainant. The party has to write. The registrar, just like the speaker, is silent until he's brought or they are brought to the attention that, hey, Latif and Gadhara are doing this. Yes. So the speaker, even if sees that until there's a complaint, and who initiates the complaint? It's the party. And the party has to do so by writing to the registrar, first of all to the members, asking them to show cause why they should not be disciplined.
Which is what ODM
has done. The next procedure will be the members will have to do so in writing or appear before the disciplinary committee and explain themselves. In the event that the parties feel that their reasons were not sufficient enough, now they'll officially write to the registrar and say, Gadhara and Latif, they've decided to quit their parties, they are joining this, therefore, effective now, we've deregistered them, which means they lose their party positions, and if now Gadara and Latif feel that they were not given accorded a fair hearing, now they'll have to appeal before the political parties tribunal.
Yeah.
Once those mechanisms or those avenues are exhausted, now the registrar of the parties will say the party complained this, that members were given this avenue, they appeared before the disciplinary committee, this was heard, they contested, they went to the political parties tribunal, it upheld the party position. Now the registrar will have the honors to write to the speaker and say, effective now they are no longer members. That is when the speaker will now decide to act. Just like even if a member of parliament dies, in as much as the speaker will even participate by laying the wreath on that grave until IEBC writes to the speaker to declare that seat vacant, the speaker can decide even if it's 2 years, yes, until when they are prompted. So the parties right now, they are the ones that had to initiate and set in motion, and I think it's only ODM that has been bold enough to do that, because I think in terms of the headlines, we know what this means. You saw what Malindi, a single by-election, cost in terms of finances. Now you can imagine we are looking at 13 for ODM, around 6 for Wiper, and then the other affiliate parties, because Ukambani, they are calling themselves Ukambani 11. They are around 11 MPs. Already 6 are from Wiper. We have CCU, I don't know, Muungano and all that. Then maybe if KANU would decide to go that way, around 6 of them. So we are looking at nearly over 30 constituencies. And if the law is followed, then you look at where we are headed, then I think it's some...
and by the time that whole process has exhausted, the thing is, that is where the opportunity lies. For Duncan to tell that story that way, so that Gadara can understand. You see, because Gadara, you see, initially Gadara was of the opinion, you know, the speaker has failed, but now Gadara, as of now,
I mean, I've got to check that.
Yes,
I've got to check that.
So it's about telling the story and telling. So this is what CORD is initiating.
Right.
What does it mean? And what does it mean is long term. Is what does it mean to the very end? What does it mean in terms of financially? What does it mean to our electoral cycle? At this point, we are trying to disband the IEBC. So what does it mean, really, in the context of that we have a general election next year? But at the same time, what does it mean for political parties? And it's a good thing, maybe, what CORD is initiating, because it's the same thing. That when you say it's organic growth of political parties and maturity, it's part of it. This is part of
I mean, true. I mean, the parties will evolve and the systems will. But there's one thing. I mean, I will check up on the procedure, but I'll take it from you for now. That's how it is. You know,
that's Gadara for you.
You know, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. I don't think we should be too concerned about costs, about the cost of by-elections. And I say that not that I'm ignoring the fact that it's a burden, but if we say as a society or as a country that it matters to us, that politicians should not be in one party and supporting the other.
Because
if we say that this matters to us, then we've got to be willing to put the resources behind it, you know, to actually enforce these laws. You know, and what I find is a lot of times, because we are afraid of the cost, you know, we keep backing away and we keep saying, well, actually, let's just wait, it will resolve itself, etc. You know, but for as long as we don't actually put our money where our mouth is, you know, and we don't actually insist and hold to account the people who don't actually do their jobs to ensure that we are taming the political system. The political system actually works for us, not works for the politicians.
All right. Let me hear from Hito. Although I sort of agree, because the thing is, the law is the law. Regardless of how much it's going to cost, that really should not be for us. It's to define and say, this is how much it's going to cost you as a taxpayer. Are you willing to pay this to ensure that
change the law?
You know, my argument has been very simple, that we are a country and a people with a culture that we don't have principles. If we ever were learning from our big brothers, look at what happened in UK, for example. David Cameron saying we are staying in Euro. The moment, yes, you don't wait for political party to remind you of Article 14(5), Section C, that you have done the wrong thing. Call your wife, sit at a press conference, throw in the towel, be the gentleman. That is what we should be doing. This thing of waiting for political parties to write to you and then fair hearing, waste of time, it's as if you're an unprincipled person. You should not even be in leadership position in the first place. What should happen, however, is what Haemba missed out is that there are also other elective posts. There's dozens of MCAs also who defected. And I would recommend a mini election because that would be a very good test for us to see if the new rookie commissioners who may come in time can really run. For Ezra Chiloba to show, can he run anything anyway? So for me, a mini election, very good test ahead of August 8th, 2017.
And remember, in Kenya, our only Cameron has been Raila Odinga. Of course, somehow when it comes to democracy, he's always having the benefit of enjoying whatever as having set precedents. In 1996, when things were not going their way in Ford, Kenya, he did what Ohito is saying, you call your wife and declare that you are throwing in the towel. He did when he decamped, formed NDP in Langata, and he was re-elected. If they believe, if the pronouncements that these MPs have been throwing around, that they believe their conscience is clear, their people are behind them, then they should just do the honorable thing. Because again, there's no point of, Wiper says that they are drawing illicit salaries because you've already said you don't want anything to do with that party, then why would you continue enjoying those privileges? When you move around and you are branded as a member of parliament, you know the party that sponsored you and you've already severed links with them, I think it's sort of politically immoral if you continue moving around negotiating for your positions in the new political lifeline for a party that you've already...
But now, Duncan, let me stop you right there and ask you the question. As a reporter, have you made that very clear to the politician and to the Kenyans so that we put the... Because that's really our job, to make sure that as they put their money where their mouth is.
Yes, we've done that. When you look at my report last night, I'm sure I've even seen it this morning, we even had Wiper that is talking about the same. We've even done those packages, even when they crossed over in Kasarani, we've done. And as you've said, what my colleagues are saying, what Latif is saying, I like. Latif, by the way, we mentioned yesterday the first step. First of all, to write, because you know when it comes to TV, you only have you have a limitation.
By time.
You have a 24-hour
again, you cannot go bombarding with people for 5 actually for 5 minutes. You are telling them this.
Well, yes,
now today is now when we will now have sit down with the lawyers and break down. But we already did that bit in terms of the first step.
Yes.
They have to write within 7 days to appear and explain themselves. Now today is when we can break it down. But I think, as Ohito says, perhaps we need to set precedents so that look at Halwale. Halwale was elected to parliament under Ford Kenya in 2002. 2006, there was a splinter group in the name of New Ford Kenya, 2006. So in 2007, he sought re-election under UDF and under New Ford Kenya. Then in 2013, he was re-elected. He was elected as a senator, as a UDF member. Right now, he is the deputy party leader of Ford Kenya. Now again, possibly. I mean, how can that one even be allowed to be happening, honestly, if we are to restore political...
that's my thing. Is you've got a law that supposedly is meant to stop this exact sort of thing happening, but it is not. And I think one or two things. We need to go back to the law and look at it. But again, more importantly, is we need to study, I think, our culture, our political culture, if you will. I don't agree with Ohito when he says that this is a reflection of a societal lack of principle. You know, my grandmother in no way behaves the way our politicians do.
But our politicians are a selection of just who we
they are not reflective of us.
The day she gets into politics, you'll see her true colors.
Actually, the day she gets into politics is what you will see her true colors. What we have is a system that incentivizes this behavior. It pays this behavior. It rewards this behavior.
So
How
that
else
reflects
do you think?
to who we are.
No, the system was not created by us, boss.
Who created the system? We support the system.
No, we inherited this system. We were awarded it. We got it. We passed a new constitution in 2010. In
But
the
like you
independence
said-
constitution that we got in 1963, don't forget, was undercut, was removed. Everything
So
that
according to you,
Gadara is a master
the
of
system.
contradiction.
No,
He
no,
just
let me
said,
finish, let me finish. The point is this, is if you think that our system, our political system is reflective of us, it means you think that most Kenyans wake up every day thinking about they're going to rob their neighbors, which is actually not true.
The issue here would be
No, this is the
key
fact.
word.
Our political system
The key
does not
word.
reflect us.
The key word would be impunity. Look at the way we drive.
no, let's even go back
Isn't
to
that
our
just-
political system, Michael.
Have you seen people being beaten on the street?
For
By-
Or because they are thought to be thieves?
yes,
Is that a
happens.
society that tolerates impunity? What is this idea that because our government enables, steals from us, and then
Gadara
protects
always-
itself, that
always-
somehow we
Gadara
are the ones
always
doing it?
argues
Okay, let me hear from
that
Latif
the
before we change.
that government is a foreign entity, and it's not. A government is by the people, for the people. It's the people.
Oh, no
It's a system. The system that Gadara is talking about, the political system, remember, he's the one who said that we've got to agree as a society that if this law, we pass this law, then we have got to agree as a society to put in the resources behind it to ensure that we implement this law to the fullest. Who is we? At that point, Gadara was part
We
of
is
we,
us, yeah.
right? And at this point, then he then starts saying that we are not the problem,
We are not the guys who are stealing.
but we are the ones who
Come
should
on,
be.
let's
We are
get
the ones who
serious.
should be enforcing.
No,
Like you
again,
said,
listen
if
to what I
it's we
said. Listen to what I
enforce,
said.
then you're part of it.
No, listen to what I said. I said at the beginning, if we go back to 63, we set up a system, or we inherited a system that we tried to change. And the guys who we elected to put in there undercut that system. It cannot be said that we were the ones doing it.
And then we elected
They did
another.
it to exclude us. Now in 2010 we passed another constitution.
And we elected
And
people.
we have another set of laws, another set of guys. And we are trying to get that constitution
We did not inherit the
implemented.
set of
Let me
guys.
finish. We elected this set of guys. That, just as we didn't inherit Kenyatta, we elected him.
Yes.
But he is not us. Kenyatta is Kenyatta. Gadara is Gadara. Kenyatta got in and he did things that excluded Gadara. And then you're saying that because you elected Kenyatta, it is you doing it. Of
No,
course
no,
not.
no. If you
Kenyans
re-elect,
do not, let me
if you
finish.
re-elect
Kenyans do
Kenyatta,
not steal.
you have endorsed him.
Kenyans do not steal.
If
No.
Gadara, you make a mistake
Bloody
today,
hell.
and I endorse what you have made a mistake, and I completely say that, Gadara has made a mistake, but I give him another mandate. I participated.
Oh, no.
I have participated,
No.
and that's why you have a cycle.
Okay,
No, again, I will disagree
gentlemen,
with
I'll want us to move on because I can see that argument is not going to end anytime soon. But I'm sure a majority would probably agree that our politicians are our reflection based on the fact that they keep going back to, we are the ones who send them back. Who
70%
votes
of
them
these
in?
guys are voted out in every election.
Now, can you imagine?
How are they a
every
reflection
election
of
we
us?
bring
And
in
then we put
70%
another
of
vote.
people
No, let me
who
ask,
look the same
why
way.
are we voting them out if they reflect us?
Why do
We
we bring
don't
a
like
70%
them.
Gadara, fine, we vote them out, we vote 70% out, and then we put another 70% who still do the same
Who
thing.
do the same thing because the problem isn't these guys, it is the system. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Fix the system.
So it is
Who's
the
gonna
system.
fix the system?
Incentivizes that whatever.
Who runs that system?
Who's going to
Who's
fix
in
the
charge,
system?
Unfortunately. And up to us, once we understand that we are not the problem, once we understand it is not me who's the problem, then I can focus on what it is, and we can put pressure to change the things that need changing, not to be told that let's go and read self-help books so that we can become nicer people and elect better guys. This is ridiculous.
All right, Gadara, I want us to change now, and maybe we'll have that topic sometime. It looks like that could take us the whole show. But there's also, I'd like to hear, starting with you, Ohito, MCK Board Chair Charles Kerich, saying that media houses should let go of journalists who've declared their political ambition. This was an article that was in the Standard last Wednesday. And maybe your thoughts on that. It is actually on air right now. The council and their stand on politics and journalists. Actually, he called them politicians in the newsroom.
A very interesting point. I was on Press Pass discussing the same, and I told the new MCK chair that he needs to embrace the Constitution, read the laws that even created his office, that he went and purported to invoke sections of the law that he either did not understand or really breach the rights of individuals who are politicians or people who want to express their interest in politics. There's nothing absolutely wrong with a journalist expressing interest in politics. In any case, some of them have been some of the best leaders. Next door neighbor, Mkapa was...
I think his issue was not them expressing their stand on politics, but the fact that if they're in the newsroom, they could influence.
You know, it depends on how the news is sifted through. From the newspaper, the Standard, we sit in an editorial conference, and it's not a decision of an individual. People sit in a meeting, more than 8, 10 people, look at the story. Is it fair? Is it balanced? Does it have libelous or defamatory statements? So that, and then there's what we call content curation. If the newsroom system works, then there's no way that a journalist would be biased. But he didn't either speak to, there are so many politicians who are actively in office who also run columns here. What happens to a journalist who is also a media owner? Will you shut your station and go and say, now...
I'm going into politics.
Yes. So I think he has a lot of work to do. And it exposed the underbelly of MCK as an institution that is not seized of its core mandate and doing very little service for the media industry.
All right, Duncan, your thoughts on that?
I want to concur with what Ohito is saying. I think what MCK would have done, their approach would have been nice if they know the specific media houses. The ideal thing they could have done is write a letter, just like if there's a complaint against me, they know the mechanism. I don't think they can call a news conference and say, so and so, this is what you've been accused of and this is what you're dealing with. In coming out and making those pronouncements, it sends a wrong message, like they're being under some directive, because if there's a complaint against you, they know your employer. They just write. If they're saying they can deregister you from there as a member of the media council, that is a problem between the council and your employer. So there's no point of maybe going and making that pronouncement, because you would ask, at what point do you gauge that reporter X being in a newsroom, his presence is there, is being influenced? That's what Hito says. How many pages does the Standard have today, or the Daily Nation, or the Star? Unless you are saying the paper is, has bylines of political reporters from the first page to the last, that's when you would say that maybe they're influencing. But if you're one person and maybe you're not even, it doesn't reflect in the story you're putting across, then I think it was a wrong approach, because at the end of it, first and foremost, we are all Kenyans. First and foremost, we have all conscience. First and foremost, everybody is entitled to have, just like it's not a crime to have Gadara registered as a voter. You can't say Gadara and Latif, we are now registered as voters, would want to know in the event that we need to go to the ballot, where will you cast your ballot? I mean, it doesn't hold, it doesn't make sense.
I think that there is a legitimate worry that when you have reporters and journalists who have declared that they're going to be running for positions, that there is a conflict. And the conflict isn't just when it comes for them reporting. I mean, the other day you had in the Star, Oliver Mathenge say he's going to run on a Jubilee Party ticket. You know, how do you think that influences how he reports on Jubilee? Or on government policy, etc., and what government is doing? You know, if somebody else says, I'm going to run for on a COD ticket, you know, how does that then influence how he's going to report? And that's sort of, I mean, the worry is legitimate. But I think the media council is not the place at which this should be arbitrated or dealt with. I think this should be left to media houses. And media houses themselves, who have their own editorial policies, you know, codes of conduct, etc., they should be enforcing them. You know, they should be ensuring that what they put out is credible, is believable. You know, I think there's a huge problem, and I totally acknowledge that the law we have at the moment does give the Media Council a power to deregister journalists, for example, as they had threatened to. But I think for me that is an onerous power. I think they shouldn't have it, because the Media Council is an organ of state.
Okay.
And in essence what you're saying is the state is deciding who can and who cannot practice journalism. And actually the state decides on what the issue, what the standards, if you will, for objectivity are, which I don't think is their mandate or should be their mandate. I think this should be left up to the media houses, and I think we should be, as both consumers of media and producers, we should be putting pressure on the media houses to clean up and to say, well, actually, should you be having these people who have declared an interest, writing these stories or being part of...
But who would stay back in the newsroom? We just say, I bank with Cooperative Bank. Now will I say that since you bank with Cooperative Bank, David Ohito, you will no longer, tell the story about Barclays.
This is my point. Notice what I said. I did not say kick them out necessarily. But I'm saying this, the media houses have to deal with this. They have to be the ones to decide whether what they have on paper as the editorial policies matter, and how then they get enforced. For example, if you're writing an article about CBA and you bank with them, does that constitute an interest? I don't think it does. But if you actually own shares in CBA, I would say perhaps you need to be telling people.
All right.
Declare interest. To respond to this, I'd like to request the director to put up that screenshot.
Okay.
Again,
Director, if we can have that screenshot of the paper again.
Yes, we see the intro, and the intro there says, just scroll up a bit so I can read.
Just scroll up a little bit if you can. There you go.
Yeah, the intro says, the Media Council of Kenya wants media houses to take action on journalists who have expressed intention to join politics, and contest next year's general election. Specific. Media Council is asking media houses to take action. That's what Gadara said. On journalists who have expressed interest to contest in next year's election. Not those who have said, I support Jubilee. Those who said, I want to vie in next year's election on a Jubilee ticket. So media houses should start having this conversation. Charles Kerich is absolutely spot on. What he's saying is, let's start having this conversation. What are we going to do? Media Council, remember, is the one that's responsible for coming up with this codes of ethics. So basically, this is a conversation that he's saying, let's look at our code of ethics. When we say that public servants who want to vie in a general election have to get out of office within a certain time, why are we saying that? We are saying that because public servants, by the nature of working for the public, are in some position of privilege. Do we want them to use that position of privilege to their advantage or to the disadvantage of their opponents? No. So we want them to get out, stop taking our time, go and contest. And it's the same thing that we are saying. Journalists are in a position of advantage by the fact that you work in a media house, right? So if you declare intention to vie, it therefore means that you have declared your bias, right? In a certain constituency, if you wanted to be the MCA for Makadara, what kind of coverage you're going to give Makadara could also be biased. You may give it more coverage, you may give it biased coverage.
Or it may be negative if you want to paint
you want to paint it, you want to show up your position. It's an obvious thing. So I think it's important that we actually take that as what the Media Council is saying. We should start having those conversations. And media houses should start saying, or I think it should actually come from the Media Council of Kenya, saying that if you declare you want to vie, therefore you have this period of time by which you should be out of the newsroom, or by which you should be actively out. If you want to become a judge and you run a law firm, what do? You stop being a partner in that law firm.
Because you could influence. All right. I think that's...
My thing is, later on in the same article, I don't know if it's reported in the Stand, but in the same press conference, they did threaten to deregister people, and that for me is
yes. If media houses do not,
what we're going to do what they're saying is either media house, and this is essentially, it seems to me, is worded almost as a directive. You either deal with this or we will. But I'm saying it should not be the province of government or of the state to be dealing with this. Should not be the province or government to be deciding who can and cannot. And I understand
Remember,
that
the
law, as it's written now,
the Media Council is the media's regulation.
But no, actually, it is not self-regulation. It is regulation by the state. The Media Council people are appointed by the state, are paid by the state. So this idea that we have, that somehow that they can decide for the rest of us.
They are not deciding. They are setting the agenda.
According to that,
when they set the agenda, they set the agenda.
And I want
They set the agenda.
security
And
matters.
you have we set the agenda. Discuss this all.
Let me hear from Ohito. Ohito, summarize on that, because I want now to go
I
to
am
security.
very much saying of what a press council or a media council should be doing in a country, not what Kerich and company are doing. Kerich is a managing editor. Truth be said, we have same problems is coming to the public for media houses to do. He should have done as at the start. The newspaper with the highest number of clarifications and apologies every day over wrong stories is the Star. Why can't he take action as managing editor on some so-called personally interested person who have also declared? Why does he have to call a press conference?
This is an attack on Kerich, not on the Media Council. Let's separate the two.
Listen, Eric, the reason I'm saying that, because now it puts Kerich should be like an umpire. What moral authority would he have being the chair of Media Council of Kenya then?
No, I think if you concentrated on what the issues actually are, I mean, for me, it doesn't matter whether it's Kerich there or whoever, but the important thing is whether the issues are what we're dealing with. And as I said, for me, there are two. One is whether you should have those people who've declared intention to run within newsrooms writing stories. But what I'm saying, the bigger issue for me is whether it should be the state deciding that they should not be. I think they should be left to media houses. And for very good reason, because when we've had issues with the state before, and the reason we fought to get out of a situation where it was the state deciding who could
walks around with a Media Council badge. He is accredited by the Media Council, and he has.
I'm not.
You're not.
Yeah.
Okay, so
All right. I want us to change
practicing
focus.
journalism.
I want us to change focus here, and I'll start with you, Duncan, because I'm seeing we're really out of time. In regards to the security issue that we had, the attack that we had on the Mombasa police station, with details coming out, or questions rather being asked by a human rights lobby, did we as the media tell the story as we were told by the police rather than interrogate?
Well, on security matters are very sensitive. And remember that in newsroom, there's a law that guides reporters anywhere across the world, what we call attribution. Mm-hmm. And you can only report what the facts as they are. You go as per what you have. If you are to be challenged tomorrow, mm-hmm. you stand as per the facts. In the event of a security incident, who are the authorities? It's the police. Mm-hmm. Because they'll give you facts and matters as they stand. So if the police have said this, in as much as you're supposed to go and interrogate further for the Mombasa incident, I think, I remember it was a Sunday when that incident happened. Yes. And then there was an attack, and there were, of course, they said there was an attempt of a petrol bomb and all that. That was sort of news that caught everyone unawares. You can only go as per the account of the security agencies who happen to be the police. Now, if there's something that is coming out later, then clearly it is in line of what we call a follow-up. But to us, when it happens and as it unfolds, your hands are tied. You can only stick to your facts. Anything short of that, it should amount to you giving an opinion mm-hmm. that is not factual. And therefore, you can only go as per the facts. But if later, much later, you have to do a follow-up and such things come out, then it's allowed. But
all right, and that is okay, I think, for the day.
Yes.
But we are now almost 7 days into when it happened. Eric, maybe your thoughts on that. Did we report, and that is okay to report the facts as you're given by the witnesses and those who are on the ground at that time. But between then and now, here we have the questions that are arising now, and some of them are, if these were really terrorists, why would they use a knife? That is not in the, a pen knife and all that. Did we report as it was given without interrogating? Eric?
Well, initially, on the first day, of course, you report what you're given. And you go with the sequence as it unfolds. You go with the news as it unfolds. What I'm seeing now is the human rights organization is coming in and poking some questions. And then again, we are reporting the questions and we are painting it like, the police could have goofed this time. We still are not asking the questions. I think that what Duncan is saying, it's important to get to the point where you start asking questions. Questions will come from anywhere. It does not necessarily mean that because you're a journalist, therefore all the questions must always come from you. Remember, people like Muhuri, human rights organization based at the coast, they deal a lot with these kind of issues. So when they raise a question, then you go and report, and then you start following up with these questions. However, it's never easy. We had an attack in New York the other day. Do we know for sure that this guy was the one who planted this? Yes, we saw there's camera footage. The unfolding events will keep unfolding. It's a developing story. Right? The developing story. It's a developing story. And the investigations as they come out will keep, revealing different things. And questions will come and pose different things. Those things of starting to say that if it's a terrorist, why would you use a knife?
No.
Really?
For me, that's not even an issue. But there are, I think, things that should have been flagged up fairly quickly in terms of what the police were saying. And I don't, but let me preface this by saying that I don't believe that on day one that our media should only be a vehicle, a sounding board for official declarations. And I think from day one, they need to be questioning what it is they are being told. I think when the police start saying that there's a suicide a vest that they cannot produce, and that the army has gone and said, actually what we found were bulletproof vests, were essentially body armor, we've got to ask, where did this talk of suicide vest come from? When they, and this is my thing, is you find quite a lot of, in fact, as we go along, in certain inconsistencies that come up, that we need to query, we need to question, And I don't think that we are in a position where we simply need to report what they said as truth until it is doubted. No.
Okay.
And let me just finish one last point. As I said at the beginning, this is the anniversary of Westgate. By using this same model of let's report what the official truth is, look where it got us. We got to a point where mattresses were being banned.
Okay.
All
right, that I'm told we're really out of time.
So, no, the fact is,
even heard from,
very quickly. The fact is, we need from day one to doubt and question what we are being told by the authorities, because they have an incentive to lie, and they have an incentive to cover up every time they mess up.
All right, Ohito, closing comments and way forward, what should we look forward to in terms of this particular attack?
Principle number one in journalism is about truth and accuracy. Did we get the truth of the matter? Were we accurate in our reporting? Are the structures, these sources of news credible enough?
All right.
That should guide us.
That should guide us. All right, I'll have to cut you short because of time. I'm told that we're really, really out of time. Life and Style is about to begin on KTN Home. For those of us on KTN News, we continue with some news updates coming up later on. We've got your health. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for the newsroom. That's where we're going to wind up this morning. Thank you for staying with us, but do stay with us right here on KTN News. For those of us who are going to continue, those of us on KTN Home will say goodbye, and Life and Style will begin shortly.